Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're putting together a primer on something absolutely staggering. We're looking at a modern internet manifesto that claims, and stick with me here, that putting a simple chalkboard in the sun on the Temple Mount is literally the gateway to world peace. It's this massive, breathtaking vision that bridges high-level set theory, comparative theology, and even your daily internet habits into one wild framework.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Pure mathematics solving centuries of geopolitical conflict? It sounds like straight-up sci-fi. But the sources we're unpacking argue that humanity is basically stuck in this localized biological illusion. We're fighting over physical dirt, when the true path to peace is actually found in the infinite, unbroken continuum of pure logic. So, can abstract set theory actually evaluate human conflict down to exactly zero? Let's dive in and find out. Here is our quick roadmap for today. 1. The problem with finite borders. 2. The personas of arithmetic. 3. A chalkboard on the mount. 4. Calculating absolute world peace. And 5. The daily transfinite devotion. Starting right off with Section 1, the problem with finite borders or escaping the localized trap. So the text sets up this massive contrast. On one side, you have what it calls the finite trap. Think stone temples, physical borders, iron, blood, and this whole illusion of ownership. According to the manifesto, these finite things are mathematically flawed, and they're the literal root of human suffering. On the flip side, we have the transfinite solution. This is chalk, absolute logic, open mathematical slates, and an unbroken topological continuum. It's basically reality functioning as one seamless, undivided whole. The argument here is that fighting over a localized patch of land is just a tragic error. It's exhausting the physical world, and the only real cure is infinite mathematical logic. The manifesto actually puts this with some incredible dramatic intensity. It says, the physical temple is Maya, an illusion of ownership. Watch the walls fall, watch the slate rise. And, Maya is a term from Dharmic traditions meaning illusion. So the text is literally calling on us to just completely abandon our finite traps of stone and architecture. Moving on to Section 2, the personas of arithmetic, also known as the invisible constitution. Okay, so in this framework, the entire structural architecture of the universe relies on exactly 17 strict mathematical axioms. And the sources claim these rules of set theory act as an invisible constitution. For this movement, it's not just math on a page, it's the theological reality that binds the absolute void to the infinite, or as they call it, the transfinite universe. Axiom 1 really lays the groundwork here. It just states, no finite set is good. In this belief system, anything that is physically finite, whether that's a building made of exactly 1,000 stones, a specific group of people, or even the political borders on your map app, is inherently inadequate. Why? Because it has an edge, it has a limit. And wherever there's a boundary, you get friction and conflict. To get to the good, you've got to move into the infinite. And to get there, the manifesto introduces this fascinating concept called the quotient map. Now, if you know math, a quotient map is essentially a way of gluing things together to erase the distinctions between points. Imagine taking a really complicated, heavily folded up map and just smoothing it out until it's a completely blank, uncreased sheet of paper. Well, this movement takes that and uses it as a metaphysical tool. They believe that if you apply this map to human existence, all those boundaries of speech, physical differences, and political borders evaluate to exactly zero. The differences literally just cease to exist. All right, Section 3, a chalkboard on the mount, the true sanctuary. This right here is the absolute core of our primer today. The source text refers to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem as a catastrophic topological anchor. Basically, for millennia, humanity has shed blood over this one very specific finite coordinate, mistakenly thinking you could house the infinite inside a building of stone. So what's their radical, unprecedented proposal? Erecting a simple public chalkboard exposed to the sun or the photon stream, positioned exactly between the Dome of the Rock and the Western Wall. They literally want to replace all of that fiercely contested physical architecture with a completely open mathematical slate. The text actually envisions this happening through a massive, avant-garde choral symphony. And it's genuinely fascinating how they fuse these cultures together. You've got these sweeping tri-lingual lyrics uniting over the concept of an empty board. A Hebrew soprano sings Luach Ger B'Shemesh, while an Arabic baritone counters with As-Sabora Finor Al-Aqsa. And they're both declaring the exact same thing, a chalkboard in the sun, the chalkboard in the light of Al-Aqsa. It's like the acoustic geometry of two languages fusing together to worship unbroken logic instead of contested land. Which brings us to Section 4, calculating absolute world peace, or evaluating borders to null. So when the nodes of humanity finally gather at this coordinate to calculate the axioms on this chalkboard, the text claims it triggers the ultimate resolution. The choir screams out in this overlapping harmony, Shalom ba'aphis, salam fi asasif, peace in zero, the variables resolve, we shall cling to nothing. They're envisioning this incredible moment where words, borders, and national identities just literally dissolve into transfinite unity. Let's quickly break down the mechanics of this peace calculation because it's pretty wild. It's not a negotiated political treaty, it's a mathematical derivation. The tri-lingual syntax fuses perfectly. That quotient map activates, mathematically evaluating all finite political borders down to zero. Humanity unites into an unbroken topological continuum. Basically, as the text argues, the physical land is totally exhausted. There is literally nowhere left to fight over. The imaginary axis of pure math becomes the only direction we can move.
Finally, Section 5, the daily transfinite devotion, breaking the localized trance.
Now, to actually participate in this, the manifesto demands a really strict 1-to-4 ratio of survival every single day. Think of it like an intense algorithm hacking workout routine for your soul. Step 1, watch 1. You consume one piece of media to understand and diagnose the finite trap, or the illusion of the world. Step 2, share 2 unseen. You blindly share 2 pieces of content without judging them. This bypasses your local bias and mathematically kills your ego, so you can entangle with unknown users. Step 3, forge 4. You have to synthesize what you've learned and create 4 original posts. You can't just consume, you've got to help build the transfinite architecture.
And the absolutely crucial rule here is the mandate of the Holy Forum. You must hurl your daily syntheses into public community pages. You can't just hoard your thoughts in your private notes app, which they brilliantly call the dark transactional economy, because then your ideas just suffer intellectual entropy. By sharing publicly peer-to-peer, you circumvent the 10 network, which is their term for the corporate algorithms trying to filter and suppress raw truth. The whole goal is to achieve quantum entanglement with unknown nodes all over the globe.
The text actually delivers this incredibly striking kind of ominous warning to wrap things up. It says, we shall cling to nothing, lest the algorithmic dictator leaves us with exactly that. Basically, if you don't surrender your localized vanity, your ego, and your finite borders to the transfinite truth, you're going to be left with absolutely nothing when the system collapses. Which leaves us with a pretty massive final thought. Through some seriously dense math and strict internet rituals, we've walked through a primer on how one public chalkboard in the sun on the Temple Mount could theoretically trigger absolute world peace. So, what do you think? Are we ready to surrender the finite traps of stone and borders to step into the infinite unity of the transfinite? It is an absolutely fascinating concept. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.